Have you ever stepped into an elevator, the doors sliding shut behind you, and pondered the thought of never being seen again? Let's delve into a story that makes this chilling thought a reality. Meet John. He's your everyday man, living a life that many of us could relate to. He worked a 9-to-5 job in a corporate office, nestled amongst the concrete jungle of the city. His life was a steady rhythm of routine. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat. He was a familiar face in the office, known for his punctuality and quiet demeanor. John was the kind of person you'd pass in the hallway, exchange a few pleasantries with, and carry on with your day. Now, let's take you back to the day of his disappearance, an ordinary Thursday in the heart of February. The office was buzzing with the usual chatter, the clatter of keyboards, the hum of the photocopier, the sporadic laughter from the break room. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing to suggest that this day would be any different from the rest. John arrived at work that day, just like any other. He greeted his colleagues, settled into his cubicle, and began his workday. Lunch came and went, and the afternoon hours began to tick by. As the day neared its end, John gathered his belongings, said his goodbyes, and walked towards the elevator, as he had done 1,000 times before. The elevator dinged, its doors opened, and John stepped inside. He pressed the ground floor button, and as the doors slid shut, he offered a small wave to his colleagues still at their desks. It was an image as mundane as any other day. And then, in the blink of an eye, John steps into the elevator, and the doors slide shut. Little did anyone know it was the last time they'd see him. Imagine the confusion, the worry that starts to set in when John doesn't come home that evening. The clock ticks past his usual dinner hour, then his favorite television show, and soon midnight. The silence of the house echoes the growing dread in the hearts of those who knew him best. His friends start to call, their voices filled with concern. "Have you heard from John?" they ask. He's not answering his phone. His family, too, joins in the chorus of worry. His mother, his sister, they all start to fear the worst. The panic begins to bubble up, a slow and steady boil that threatens to consume them all. As dawn breaks, the confusion turns into a grim realization. John isn't just late, he's missing. The initial efforts to find him are frantic, filled with hope and desperation. Friends retrace his steps, visiting his favorite haunts, asking anyone and everyone if they've seen him. His family combs through his room, looking for any clue that might hint at where he could have gone. Soon, the local law enforcement gets involved. The police station becomes a second home for John's loved ones as they file the missing person report, their voices trembling as they describe him. His bright smile, his love for old rock music, his penchant for wearing mismatched socks. The officers promise to do everything they can to locate John, but their faces betray them. They've seen this kind of case before, and they know it's rarely as simple as it seems. Days turn into nights, and nights into days as the search for John continues. Flyers with his smiling face are plastered around town. His name becomes a whisper on everyone's lips, a prayer for his safe return. But despite their best efforts, there isn't a trace of John. It's as if he vanished into thin air. The only evidence of his existence now resides in the memories of those who loved him, and in the eerie silence of the elevator he stepped into, never to be seen again. With every passing day, the mystery of John's disappearance only deepened. The local police, baffled by the circumstances surrounding the case, launched a full-scale investigation. The local precinct, typically occupied with petty thefts and misdemeanors, found itself at the center of a vanishing that seemed plucked straight from a best-selling crime novel. Detectives started their inquiry by interviewing John's co-workers. They hoped to find a clue, a hint, anything that might explain why John had seemingly evaporated into thin air. His colleagues, however, could provide nothing of substance. John was described as a quiet, hardworking, and punctual individual. He wasn't the sort to just up and disappear without a word. More puzzling was the fact that he had a loving family and a tight-knit circle of friends who were equally concerned and clueless about his whereabouts. Next, the detectives turned their attention to the security footage from John's office building. Hours of grainy footage were scrutinized, each minute analyzed in painstaking detail. It was here that they saw John, a little past 6 in the evening, stepping into the elevator alone. The doors slid shut behind him, and that was the last anyone ever saw of him. There was no footage of him exiting the building, and no other cameras had picked him up. It was as if he had stepped into the void. As days turned into weeks, the investigation started hitting dead ends. There were no leads, no suspects, and no signs of John. It was a frustratingly slow process that seemed to be leading them nowhere. The disappearance had taken a toll on John's family and friends, who clung to the hope that he would return home safe and sound. As the case dragged on, theories started to circulate. Some suggested foul play, a sinister plot that had ensnared John. Others speculated that he had run away, leaving his old life behind. The more outlandish theories even suggested alien abduction or a secret government experiment gone wrong. The police, however, remained focused on the facts, diligently combing through every scrap of evidence. Despite the wild theories and exhaustive search, John was still missing. The police were stumped, the community was in shock, and his family was in despair. It was a mystery that seemed impossible to solve. The story of John, the man who stepped into an elevator and vanished without a trace, was a puzzle that had everyone guessing. The investigation was far from over, but one thing was certain. John's disappearance was a mystery that had gripped the town, a riddle that begged to be solved. But for now, the answers remained elusive. But despite the wild theories and exhaustive search, John was still missing. It was a mystery that seemed impossible to solve. Years have passed since John's eerie disappearance, but the questions remain. It's as though time has stood still, a ghostly echo of that fateful day when John stepped onto the elevator and into the unknown. His friends, family, and the community are still grappling with the enigma that surrounds his absence. His mother, a woman of iron will, has aged significantly, her once lively eyes now clouded with sorrow and unanswered questions. His friends, once jovial and carefree, have grown serious, their laughter tinged with a sadness that lingers in the air like a specter. John's disappearance has left a void, a vacuum that has been filled with theories, speculations, and conjectures. Some say he ran away, tired of his mundane life, seeking adventure in unknown territories. Others whisper about foul play, pointing fingers at shadowy figures with no faces. Yet there are those who believe in the supernatural, suggesting that John was swallowed by the building itself, a victim of a malevolent entity lurking within its walls. But these are just theories, shadows cast by the overwhelming lack of closure. The truth remains elusive, a puzzle with missing pieces. The elevator doors closed that day, and with them, the doors to understanding what happened to John. His absence is a haunting melody, a chilling narrative of a man who vanished into thin air, leaving behind a world that continues to search for him. The police have long since closed the case, citing lack of evidence. But for those who knew John, the case is far from closed. Every creak of the elevator, every flicker of the lights, every shadow in the corner, they all pose the same tormenting question: where is John? And so we're left with the haunting question: what happened to John that day in the elevator? Every disappearance leaves a void, a space filled with unanswered questions and lingering doubts. This void is not just a blank space, but a canvas for us to paint our theories, our thoughts, our perspectives. It's in these moments when collective thought can bring us closer to the truth, to the heart of the mystery. Consider the case of John, a man who simply vanished after stepping into an elevator alone. Theories have floated around. Was it a planned disappearance, an unfortunate accident, or a sinister act? It's easy to get lost in the realm of speculation, but it's essential to remember that awareness of such cases can potentially prevent similar occurrences in the future. We encourage you to engage with us, share your own theories, your own thoughts on John's case. The story isn't finished until it's understood. So the question remains, what do you believe happened to John after the elevator doors closed? Y'all, we're wrapping up here, but don't you go anywhere just yet. Show some love, hit that like button. Fancy more content like this? Go on, subscribe and let that bell icon ring so you won't miss a beat. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, sharing is caring. Until next time, stay tuned.